There comes a moment, quiet, slow, and heavy, when you realize that someone you once thought was part of your story was only meant to be a chapter. You feel it in the silence after they leave. The room doesn't just feel empty, it feels altered. The same walls, but a different gravity. Every message left unread, every photo you can't bring yourself to delete, it all becomes a battlefield between your reason and your emotions. You tell yourself you've moved on, but deep down, you're still waiting for something that will never return. Marcus Aurelius faced that same invisible war between what he wished could stay and what reality demanded he release. And the truth he found wasn't about love or loss. It was about freedom. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But what he didn't write, at least not directly, was how excruciating it is to separate what's inside your control from what's inside your heart. Because the Stoics never said detachment meant feeling nothing. No, it meant learning to feel without drowning, to love without clinging, to lose without collapsing. But tell that to the modern soul, one that measures its worth through someone else's eyes. How do you detach when every song, every street, every scent reminds you of what once was? How do you let go when the mind keeps rewriting the past, begging for another ending? This is where Stoicism stops being theory and becomes survival. Because what Marcus understood, what Seneca preached, and what Epictetus lived was that peace isn't the absence of attachment, it's the presence of perspective. The kind that cuts through illusion like morning light through fog. It's the discipline of looking at your pain and whispering, "This too is under nature's law." The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of one's fate. To not only accept what happens, but to embrace it, because it was always meant to happen exactly that way. But before you reach that clarity, there's chaos. You'll bargain with yourself. You'll imagine closure that never comes. You'll scroll through memories until your mind becomes your own worst enemy. And that's where the first rule begins. Not with pretending you're fine, not with cutting someone off, but with seeing your suffering for what it truly is, a lesson in disguise. Because detachment, in the Stoic sense, isn't about losing emotion. It's about reclaiming authority over it. It's realizing that your peace cannot belong to another person. And if you're here, watching this, feeling this, you're already on that path. You're standing where Marcus once stood, where Seneca wrote letters to a friend he could no longer reach, where Epictetus watched his master's cruelty and still chose inner freedom. The path to detachment begins in that space, the space between pain and understanding, between wanting control and realizing you already have it. So stay until the end, because what follows are not just 5 Stoic rules. They are 5 quiet revolutions, each one peeling back another layer of illusion until only truth remains.
The first rule of emotional detachment is the hardest, because it demands honesty, not comfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them." Yet when it comes to love, our judgment becomes the most skilled liar of all. You see, when someone begins to slip away, we don't fall in love with the person anymore, we fall in love with the idea of them. The person who once smiled at us becomes a ghost we chase through memory. We edit the past, remove their flaws, replay the good moments until they feel sacred, as if remembering them harder might bring them back. But this illusion, this refusal to see what is the root of suffering. Seneca warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Emotional attachment works the same way. When we crave the version of someone that no longer exists, we become spiritually impoverished. You can't heal while holding on to the mirage of what was. The Stoics called this living against nature, the attempt to resist reality as it unfolds. And nature, in Stoic philosophy, isn't some abstract force. It's truth itself, the flow of time, the unchangeable law that everything and everyone is in constant motion. When you love someone but refuse to accept who they are now, you begin to suffer not because they've changed, but because you refuse to. Imagine Marcus Aurelius standing alone in his tent during the Marcomannic Wars, thousands of miles from Rome, surrounded by death and betrayal. Yet what does he write? Not of bitterness, not of loss, but of acceptance. He writes, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He didn't cling to what could have been. He faced what was. This is where detachment begins, in the brutal acceptance that people are not ours to preserve, that every bond exists under the law of impermanence. When we deny this truth, we suffer twice, once for the loss itself and once for resisting it. Modern psychology calls this cognitive dissonance, the brain's desperate attempt to protect us from pain by distorting reality. But Stoicism demands the opposite, not protection, but perception. To sit in the pain and see clearly. To whisper to yourself, this person has changed, this moment is gone, and yet I remain. This simple shift from wishing to witnessing marks the beginning of inner freedom. Because when you start to see people as they are, not as you need them to be, you reclaim your peace from illusion. It's not an easy vision to hold. Your mind will fight it. It will bargain. Maybe we'll come back. Maybe it'll be different this time. But as Epictetus said, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. Detachment isn't a war against the other. It's a return to yourself. The first rule is about clarity, a painful clarity that ends illusions, because you can't let go of someone until you stop holding on to who they were. So tonight, if your heart aches, let it. Feel every corner of it. But as you do, repeat these words: I will see what is. Not what I want, not what I remember, not what I imagined. Only what is. That's where the Stoic path begins, with truth. Because only when you face reality without distortion can you begin to be free of it.
The second rule of detachment is perhaps the most silent, but also the most dangerous. Control the story your mind keeps telling you. Because long after they're gone, they don't live in your world anymore. They live in your words. In the sentences you replay at 2 a.m., in the stories you whisper to yourself when no one else can hear. If I'd done more, if they'd stayed, if I was enough. These are not memories, they are mental prisons, and the Stoics warned of them more than anything else. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Such as are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind, for the soul is dyed by the thoughts." Your thoughts are not harmless, they sculpt you. They define the texture of your inner life. Every time you let your mind replay a story of loss or rejection, you are rehearsing pain, perfecting suffering. And this, Marcus would say, is the moment to intervene. Because no one can hurt you more than the stories you refuse to stop telling yourself. Seneca knew this too. When he was exiled to Corsica, betrayed, accused, and torn from everything familiar, he didn't curse his fate, he wrote. He turned exile into meditation. In his letters he said, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." He saw his suffering not as a curse, but as a test of perception. The same applies to heartbreak. The story you tell yourself about what happened, that's the real wound, one that can stay open for years if left unquestioned. In Stoicism, this is called prohairesis, your inner faculty of choice, your moral will. It's the throne inside you that no one can touch, unless you hand them the crown. The Stoics believed that every external event, no matter how painful, is powerless without your interpretation. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them, Epictetus reminded his students. It's not their absence that breaks you, it's your attachment to the meaning you've given that absence. Modern neuroscience echoes this. Emotional pain doesn't come directly from the event, but from the brain's narrative response to it. The brain, desperate for coherence, rewrites the past, searching for a villain, a reason, a pattern, anything but silence. But the Stoics invite you to do the opposite, to sit in the silence, to stop explaining, stop dramatizing, stop needing the why. Because sometimes the why is just your mind refusing to let go. Marcus wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So if you wish to detach, you must start there, by purifying thought. When your mind begins to wander into what if and if only, gently bring it back to what is. Don't argue with your emotions, observe them. Don't demand that your story makes sense. Let it end where it ended. This is not suppression, this is mastery." When Seneca lost his friend Serenus, he wrote, "He whom we have loved and lost is no longer where he was. He is now wherever we are." The Stoics understood that grief doesn't disappear, it transforms. What was external becomes internal. What was love becomes wisdom. To control the inner narrative is to write a new chapter, one that honors what was, but doesn't worship it. So when your mind tries to replay the past tonight, don't silence it, guide it. Whisper to yourself, "I am the author now." Because the truth is, you can't rewrite what happened, but you can rewrite what it means. And that, according to every Stoic who ever lived, is where freedom truly begins.
There is a Stoic exercise that few ever truly understand: the view from above. Marcus Aurelius used it whenever he felt consumed by human emotion. He would close his eyes and imagine rising, slowly, gently, above the world. First, above his camp, then above the empire, until even his struggles became smaller than dust beneath him. From that height, he saw how temporary everything was. Anger, love, betrayal, victory, all of it dissolving in the great tide of time. He wrote, "Consider, for example, the times of Vespasian. You will see all these things: marrying, bringing up children, sick, dying, warring, feasting, trafficking, farming, flattering, suspecting, plotting, wishing for someone's death, grumbling about the present, falling in love, amassing fortunes, coveting consulships, all the same as now. And that life of theirs is dead." That passage wasn't cold detachment, it was liberation. The view from above isn't about diminishing your feelings, it's about placing them in the right proportion. When you rise above your heartbreak, you don't deny it, you contextualize it. You see that the person you loved is not the universe. They're one soul among billions, caught in the same impermanent rhythm as you. Their absence feels like eternity, but from a cosmic view, it's a moment's flicker in the endless stream of change. Seneca described this same perspective as a divine vantage point of reason, a clarity that allows us to see events as nature sees them, without judgment, without despair. He wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." But then he adds something remarkable. "And yet, it is a noble thing to be weeping at the right time, for the right reason, in the right measure." Perspective doesn't erase your emotion, it disciplines it. It teaches you when to feel and when to release. Modern psychology now echoes this Stoic practice through something called cognitive reframing, stepping outside your limited viewpoint to see events from a wider, more neutral frame. Neuroscientists found that when people visualize themselves from above, it physically quiets the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system. Marcus discovered this 2,000 years ago without ever scanning a brain. He realized that emotion loses its tyranny when you give it altitude. Try it now. Imagine rising above your own life. See the streets you walk, the city that holds you, the thousands of lives intersecting with yours at this very moment. The pain that feels unbearable, see it now as part of something vast, ancient, and fleeting. In this immense perspective, you begin to understand what the Stoics meant by logos, the rational order of the universe. Everything that happens within that order, even heartbreak, even loss, even the silence left behind. Epictetus told his students, "When you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, 'Tomorrow you may die.' Not out of morbidity, but out of gratitude." The view from above transforms detachment into appreciation, because once you truly see how temporary everything is, you no longer cling out of desperation. You love deeply, but lightly. You hold people with open hands, knowing that what is borrowed must someday return. When Marcus wrote of standing on a mountaintop of the mind, he was teaching this exact rule: emotional detachment through elevation. So when you're overwhelmed by missing someone, close your eyes and rise. Rise above the moment, the emotion, the illusion that this pain will last forever. From that height, you'll see it clearly: the love, the loss, the lesson, all woven into the same sacred fabric of existence. And in that vision, detachment no longer feels like letting go. It feels like coming home to the truth.
The fourth rule of emotional detachment is both ancient and revolutionary. Discipline your desires. Because every attachment begins as a desire, and every desire, left unchecked, becomes a chain. Seneca warned, "He is a slave who is subject to another, though he be a king." And he meant not physical chains, but emotional ones. The invisible cords that tie your peace to someone else's attention. We tell ourselves that love is freedom, but the moment we need someone to stay, to reply, to understand, love quietly turns into dependency. The Stoics saw this with terrifying clarity. Whoever controls your desires controls you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather, do what's essential." The same applies to the heart. To seek peace, want less, because the more you crave, the more you suffer. The person you can't let go of doesn't own your heart. Your need for them does. The Stoics taught that emotional pain often disguises itself as longing, when in truth, it's addiction. Addiction to validation, to attention, to the fantasy of being completed by another. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing someone, you start to love them purely. Because now it's no longer a transaction, it's a choice. Epictetus, once a slave himself, became one of philosophy's greatest teachers because he understood that freedom isn't a condition, it's a state of mind. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's what the Stoics meant by discipline, not suppression, but liberation. To love without need, to care without clinging, to give without expectation. This is the rarest form of power. Modern psychology now confirms what the Stoics intuited centuries ago. Dependency activates the brain's reward system, the same circuits used by addictive substances. That's why when they leave, you don't just feel sad, you go through withdrawal. You shake, you crave, you scroll through their photos like a desperate search for a fix. The Stoics knew this pattern well. They just named it differently: the enslavement of the soul. And their remedy was the same one neuroscientists suggest today: withdraw gradually, intentionally, consciously. Seneca once wrote to his friend Lucilius, "Nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company." That's the essence of Stoic detachment: to be able to sit with yourself without needing anyone else to fill the silence. When you stop chasing, the silence becomes sacred. It becomes strength. So the fourth rule is simple, but it's also everything. Need less. Practice by noticing the small dependencies: the urge to check your phone, the impulse to see if they've seen your message, the way your peace rises and falls with their presence. Catch these moments and reclaim them, because every moment you don't need them, you return to yourself. This is not coldness. This is clarity. You can still love, still care, still wish them well, but from a place of abundance, not lack. That's the Stoic secret. Emotional detachment isn't indifference, it's independence. It's saying, "I love you, but I do not depend on you for peace." And when you reach that point, when your happiness no longer trembles in someone else's hands, that's when you'll understand what Marcus meant when he wrote, "No man is unhappy who does not think himself so." Detachment isn't losing love, it's losing illusion. The illusion that peace can be borrowed from anyone but yourself.
The fifth and final Stoic rule is not about escaping your pain, it's about transforming it. The Stoics called it amor fati, love your fate. Not tolerate it, not survive it, but love it. Because everything that happens, no matter how cruel or senseless, carries within it the raw material for your strength. Marcus Aurelius whispered this truth to himself every night. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. That's amor fati, to turn loss into light, to burn and yet to illuminate. When someone leaves, most people search for closure, a final answer, an apology, an explanation. But the Stoics teach that closure doesn't come from them, it comes from acceptance. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly." Amor fati is this: the radical acceptance of reality as your ally. The heartbreak wasn't punishment, it was initiation. A violent ending that forced you to meet the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Seneca understood this intimately. He lost his wealth, his position, even his friends, and still he wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every hardship is a refinement. Every loss, a sculptor's stroke against the rough stone of who you are. Stoicism doesn't deny pain, it dignifies it. It says, this suffering you hate is your greatest tutor. But only if you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? Modern psychology calls this post-traumatic growth, the transformation that occurs when we stop resisting adversity and instead extract meaning from it. The Stoics lived that principle centuries before the term existed. When Marcus buried his own children, he didn't harden, he deepened. He saw loss as proof that love existed at all, and that even grief was a form of gratitude for having felt something real. This is the heart of Stoic detachment. Not numbness, but nobility. Not absence of feeling, but mastery of meaning. Amor fati doesn't tell you to smile through pain, it tells you to trust it, to see every heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment as a spark thrown into your inner fire. You don't control what life gives, but you always control what you make of it. So if you feel broken, remember, the Stoics never sought to avoid breaking, they sought to break beautifully, to turn every wound into wisdom, every scar into serenity. As Cleanthes, the disciple of Zeno, once wrote, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, O destiny, wherever you have assigned me. I will follow willingly. If I do not, I shall follow nonetheless." That is amor fati, the courage to say yes to everything, to walk willingly into what is meant for you, and to love even that which once shattered you. And maybe that's the secret Marcus Aurelius wanted us to remember. Detachment is not withdrawal, it's alignment. It's standing in the river of fate and no longer trying to fight the current. It's realizing that every loss was not a theft, but a redirection, a quiet hand turning you back toward yourself. So when you finally look back, months or years from now, you'll understand that person didn't break you. They revealed you. They showed you where your peace truly lives, untouched, unborrowed, unshakable. And when you arrive there, standing in the quiet light of your own acceptance, you'll whisper the final Stoic truth. Perhaps the goal was never to forget them, but to remember myself. The battle between emotion and reason isn't ancient history. It's happening right now, inside you. Every unread message, every memory that stings when your phone lights up with someone else's name, every night you say, "I'm fine," while scrolling through ghosts. The Stoics faced wars, exiles, and emperors, but their greatest enemy was the same one you face, the mind's rebellion against reality. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he wasn't exaggerating, because what destroys us is rarely what happens, it's what we think about what happens. You see, modern heartbreak isn't fought with swords. It's fought with screens, algorithms, dopamine loops. We live in an era where pain has an echo chamber, where you can revisit someone's life even after they've left yours, where every photo becomes a wound, every update a whisper that says they've moved on and you haven't. Marcus Aurelius didn't have social media, but he understood this addiction perfectly. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he didn't know is that today our thoughts have become digital. We carry our suffering in our pockets. We scroll through our attachment like it's oxygen. The Stoics would have called this a sickness of prohairesis, the inner faculty of will enslaved by external things. Epictetus warned, when a man is disturbed, he must not say, "Why did this happen?" but, "Why am I disturbed by this?" He knew that suffering doesn't end when the pain stops, it ends when the interpretation changes. The modern mind, however, is trained to interpret endlessly, to assign meaning where silence should be. We call it closure, but the Stoics would call it illusion, because every time you go looking for answers in someone else's story, you abandon authorship of your own. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, weary and weathered, writing by candlelight in his tent. Meditations was never meant for publication. It was a conversation with himself, a dialogue between emotion and reason. He didn't write to impress, he wrote to remember, to remind himself that peace was not something found in the empire or in the people he ruled, but in the discipline of thought. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every doubt became a meditation. And maybe that's what we've forgotten, that healing isn't a destination, it's a practice. Modern neuroscience proves what the Stoics always suspected. Emotion follows attention. What you feed grows. The brain rewires itself to whatever you rehearse, whether it's pain, peace, or power. That's why Marcus wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Because the mind doesn't distinguish between memory and imagination. It only knows what you revisit. So if you keep revisiting pain, your brain believes it's still happening. The Stoic way, therefore, isn't to suppress emotion, it's to redirect it, to consciously starve the story that breaks you and nourish the one that rebuilds you. You can almost see Marcus standing over your shoulder, whispering, "Let reason lead, but let compassion follow." Because reason without compassion becomes cruelty, and compassion without reason becomes chaos. The Stoic path is the balance between the two, to feel deeply but not drown, to think clearly but not detach from your humanity. So tonight, when the mind pulls you back into the endless loop, pause, breathe, step back into that ancient discipline. Ask yourself, not why did they leave, but what can I learn from their leaving? That's what the Stoics meant by mastery, not dominance, but dialogue, between your reason and your emotion, between what hurts and what heals. Because in the end, detachment isn't the silence after love. It's the harmony that remains when love has evolved into understanding.
At some point in your journey of detachment, the face you've been trying to forget disappears, and what's left is your own reflection. The Stoics call this moment the turning of the soul inward. It's the moment when grief stops being about them and starts being about you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." But the digging hurts, because when you look deeply, you realize you weren't just attached to the person. You were attached to the version of yourself that existed with them, the one who felt chosen, seen, understood. That's the illusion Stoicism breaks, that your worth ever depended on someone else's gaze. We think we miss them, but often we miss ourselves, the person we were allowed to be in their presence. The laughter, the ease, the warmth, all the parts of us we abandoned once they left. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much of your life have you wasted waiting to be remembered by someone who is already forgotten? How much of your mind's power has been spent trying to reassemble a story that no longer needs to be told? The Stoics would say, that energy belongs to you now. Return it. There's a moment in every Stoic's life when they stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What does this reveal about me?" That's the mirror. It doesn't flatter, it doesn't console, it shows you what's real. Your attachment, your fear of being alone, your dependency on external validation. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoic mirror forces that mastery, not by judging you, but by reflecting you exactly as you are. Because only when you see yourself without illusion can you begin to rebuild without dependency. Modern psychology mirrors this ancient wisdom. Therapists call it reclaiming the projected self, the parts of your identity you've outsourced to others. When you fall in love, you unconsciously hand someone the power to define you. When they leave, you feel like they've taken something from you. But Stoicism reveals the truth. They didn't take anything, they merely returned to you what was never theirs to keep. Your peace, your power, your narrative. Detachment, in the end, is not about letting go of them, it's about retrieving yourself. Marcus once wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." He knew that clarity is rebirth. When you finally see yourself without illusion, the pain doesn't vanish, it transforms. It becomes fuel. It becomes gratitude for having felt deeply enough to learn. It becomes compassion for others still lost in their own attachments. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." And in that courage, to face yourself, to forgive yourself, to rebuild yourself, you become unbreakable. So tonight, stand before the mirror, not the one made of glass, but the one made of memory. See yourself, stripped of illusion, of roles, of stories. See the scars, the tired eyes, the quiet strength that survived what you thought you couldn't. And whisper what Marcus whispered to himself after every storm. You have endured worse, and you have survived. Because the mirror doesn't lie. It only reminds you that you are always enough, even when you forgot.
There comes a day when the silence ends, when, after all the meditations, reflections, and long nights of solitude, someone new appears. Their smile feels familiar. Their eyes carry the same warmth you once swore you'd never fall for again. And suddenly, the test returns. This is the moment Marcus Aurelius warned himself of when he wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." He knew that life would always invite love back into the same heart that once broke. But the question is, will you love differently this time? Or will you repeat the cycle that once enslaved you? Epictetus once said, "When someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval." That's the essence of detachment. Not indifference, but strength. The Stoics never told us not to love. They told us to love without illusion, to hold everything, even love, lightly. Because when you've learned to stand alone, you no longer cling, you choose. The person before you becomes not your savior, but your reflection, a chance to express the peace you already possess. Love, to the Stoic, is not an escape from solitude, it's a celebration of it. Seneca understood this paradox deeply. In his letters, he wrote of friendship and love as sacred but fleeting. Let us love those whom we can soon lose, as if they were going to be lost. To the untrained heart, that sounds cold. But the Stoic heart hears something else: reverence. To love fully while knowing it can vanish at any moment, that is courage. That is freedom. It's the highest form of detachment. To give without needing, to feel without clinging, to care without control. Modern psychology echoes this in what they call secure attachment, the ability to connect without dissolving your identity. The Stoics knew this truth centuries before science did. Real love is only possible when you are whole. And so the final rule of emotional detachment, the fifth Stoic rule, reveals itself. Love as if it were borrowed, not owned. Because every person you meet, every warmth you feel is a loan from the universe, temporary, precious, not promised. When you grasp that truth, the fear of loss dissolves and gratitude takes its place. Marcus lived this truth as emperor, husband, and father. He buried children, lost comrades, faced betrayal. Yet in every loss, he found a reason to be kind. He wrote, "When you wake up tomorrow, ask yourself, will I meet what happens with virtue, or will I fall again into complaint?" Detachment is not retreat, it's readiness. So when love finds you again, and it will, don't run from it in the name of Stoicism. Welcome it, but keep your center. See the beauty, but remember the impermanence. Hold their hand, but not their soul. Because the Stoic secret isn't to feel less, it's to suffer less by understanding what's real. Zeno called it living in accordance with nature, and nature always moves, changes, flows. The river doesn't grieve the leaves it carries away, it simply continues its course. You are that river now. And when the night comes, and they're beside you or gone from you, whisper this: I loved without fear, I lost without despair, and I remain whole. That is the Stoic's greatest victory. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Not the escape from love, but the freedom within it.
And now, after every lesson, every reflection, every silent struggle you faced, you arrive at the place Marcus Aurelius called the center of the soul, a stillness untouched by absence, untouched by desire. You have seen the truth, that attachment is not merely about the other person, but about what you ask them to give you: peace, meaning, identity. You have learned to see reality as it is, not as your heart imagines. You have controlled your inner narrative, elevated yourself above the storm, disciplined your desires, transformed pain into purpose, and prepared to meet love again without losing yourself. And yet, all these are steps, not the destination. The final revelation is quieter, subtler, more profound. Freedom exists in acceptance. Acceptance does not mean surrendering. It does not mean detachment is numbness or indifference. Seneca wrote, "A man's as miserable as he thinks he is." And in your journey, you have discovered that misery, the gnawing ache, the restless longing, the fear of loss, exists only where resistance reigns. The Stoics taught that the river of life moves according to nature. It does not pause for grief, does not turn back for sorrow, and does not obey our desires. What it does offer is flow. And your liberation begins the moment you stop trying to hold water in your hands. You allow life to move, and in doing so, you move with it. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This is your embodiment. You no longer seek control, you embody clarity. You no longer crave certainty, you embody trust in nature. You no longer run from loss, you embody presence. Each heartbeat becomes a testament to self-mastery, each breath a prayer of gratitude. The person who once hunted your mind is no longer a master of your peace. They exist in the story of life, but not in the authority of your soul. You have returned home to yourself. And the world, with all its impermanence and unpredictability, can no longer frighten you. You have discovered the Stoic paradox: to love fully, yet remain unbroken; to feel deeply, yet remain free. Marcus Aurelius faced armies, plagues, betrayal, and death, and his peace remained intact because he understood this. You now face your own battles, the shadows of absence, the echoes of memory, and your peace is similarly unshakable. The Stoic does not cling, does not demand, does not collapse. The Stoic is present, aware, and free. The silence after heartbreak is not emptiness, it is revelation. In that silence, you meet your own strength. In that stillness, you meet the truth Marcus, Seneca, and Epictetus lived every day, that peace is not borrowed from others, but cultivated within. You have done the hardest work. You have turned inward. You have watched the river of attachment flow past, and you have stepped into it with calm. You have said to yourself and to the universe, "I am enough. I am whole. I am free." Perhaps the answer was never control. It was acceptance. The strength to say, "This moment is enough." Perhaps the lesson was never to escape love, but to meet it consciously, fully, without surrendering your soul. The 5 rules: see reality, control your mind, rise above, need less, embrace fate, were not steps toward detachment from others, but toward mastery over yourself. And now, standing in this quiet light, you understand the world may shift, people may leave, love may burn and fade, but your center, your soul, your peace remains, untouched, unstoppable, infinite. And in this sacred quiet, in this stillness beyond attachment, you finally hear the Stoics' timeless whisper: everything outside your mind is neither yours nor necessary. All that is truly yours is this: your reason, your virtue, your presence. Protect it, live it, love it. And in that, you are free.